Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Juvo Hub podcast, where learning leads. I am excited again today for another special reason. I think, Steve, you are the first three-peat
Wow,
for the
really?
Juvo Hub podcast. Yeah,
Well, I'm honored.
yeah,
Do I get a blazer like they give to the people who
yeah,
host?
yeah.
You
I think
know?
exactly that should be part of our marketing for the show. Is like the three-peat shirt. For sure. But yeah, I mean, how awesome is it, man? You were with us for episode 10, episode 22. So you were back in the early days with me and Mark, and
Yeah,
man, it was awesome. Good times.
good
Good
times,
times.
good people. We've both been
Yeah.
through a lot over the last couple of
Yeah.
years, so it's nice to catch
Yeah.
up. And yeah,
Yeah. I need to catch up with Mark Howell. I haven't talked to him in a bit. We got to get him on here
yeah,
again.
man, he is moving and shaking. I love seeing
Yes,
him
he
on
is.
social media. He's all over the
Yeah.
place doing great things. So
Yeah.
good for him. Yep.
He's living the dream. I mean, what an amazing trainer, and you are too, man. That's why. I mean, it was so awesome to have you on past shows. You're an industry speaker, an industry trainer. Who are you working with now? What's going on in Steve's world?
So I have stepped across the table. I did this a couple of years ago. I've been with a couple of different supplier partners. So when I was working in operations, we used to call it the dark side. But being in these roles now on the supplier partner side, I call it the light side because I tend to feel like I have a bit more balance in my life. I was able to, as you know, stay home and take care of my mom for a few years because of the fact that I was, on the supplier partner side, and there was a bit more flexibility there. But now I work as the multifamily industry principal for a company called SalesMail, and we are
Okay.
a video communication and connection platform. So we replace standard black and white text emails and text messages with a really cool branded video messaging platform that works very well through email, text, and CRM. And it just really kind of humanizes the experience. We started in the senior living space, and the kind of cool
Hmm.
backstory, we were creating these legacy videos. So retirement communities had a partnership with my company. The parent company is called Heart Legacy, and we would take the folks who worked at these senior living communities would get video footage, ask questions from these folks who were their residents, get their life stories on tape, get pictures and things from the family, and then our company would produce these beautiful legacy videos that the senior
Wow.
living communities would then present to the families as kind of a token of appreciation. And through that, our partners in senior living said, well, how can you help us to stand out in the inbox? And because it was
Hmm.
becoming just as a competitive market as multifamily is now. And that's how SalesMail was born. So we help to really
Okay.
make a company stand out from the competition when they're doing their follow up or outreach, because it's a video message that really captures the attention of the recipient. Lots of ways to interact, and it's when you think about a senior living decision where there's siblings that maybe live on different sides of the country. They have to make this important decision for their family member. Instead of just a flat email coming from a sales director at a retirement community, here comes this warm, inviting, emotionally connectable video that says, hey, I'm Steve. I'm the director of senior living here at such and such community. Really excited to meet you and your mom. Can't wait to show you all the great things that we have to offer you here. And I'm here if you have any questions. Just really made an emotional and a really important connection for that decision. And it works, it parlays right over into the multifamily space just as well. So we're excited to kind of broaden our
That sounds
footprint in
awesome.
the multifamily space.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
know. I've seen some of your videos, and they're spectacular. I think it's. Uh,
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
a lot of
emails are
fun.
tough enough to get to open. You know.
They sure are. They sure are. I was doing outreach for a conference. I was actually a SalesMail user for about 4 years before I came to work for the company, and I was doing outreach for NAA and sending stuff out to people, people high up in organizations. I always refer to my one example as Jackie Rohn. She's a big star in the Gray Star universe out of the Houston operation there, and sent
Mhm.
her a message. I sent her a sales mail. Hey, Jackie, are you going to be at NAA? I'd love the opportunity to catch up with you, see how things are doing. Here's my booth number. And, not ever expecting a response from somebody at her level, as busy as she is. And she responded back saying, "Oh my God, this is the cutest thing I've ever seen." So it
Aw,
really does,
that's cool.
does the job, and makes it a lot more fun to do that cold outreach than it was before.
Yeah.
And I'm also doing a
Yeah.
podcast too. I do a podcast called The Multifamily Mind. It is super powered by SalesMail, and it's just a thought leadership podcast where I invite folks who I consider to be thought leaders in multifamily to share what's on their
Hmm.
mind. We had a great lineup season one. Already under our belts, moving on into season two, starting up in 2025. So that's been exciting as well.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Exciting. Thank you for educating our industry, and really that's what the purpose of today's show is, to kind of talk about what's going on with our industry. When you and I were prepping for this episode, we got talking about artificial intelligence. You have great freeness of speech, my friend, when it comes to technology in general, being able to showcase to our industry the benefits of kind of getting out of that rut. Let's
Yeah.
try something new. It's there. We don't need to be afraid of it. Artificial intelligence, we see it being talked about across all the social channels now.
Yeah.
Lots of people are trying to learn how to use it. Lots of people are becoming speakers. Uh, we'd like your take, to educate our community. Uh, what what would you say are some key factors that people are resisting? Like, what are people seeing? They're like, oh no, I don't want to look into that. That's just another techie thing that I just don't think is going to work for me. So what is contributing to the friction in adoption? What's your opinion, or what have you seen?
Well, I think there's a couple of things, Jonathan. I think, first of all, multifamily is kind of notorious for being slow to adopt. One of the good things that did come from COVID and the pandemic was it kind of forced operators to be in a position where they had to adopt some technology that they may have been more averse to in the past. And, learning that people can work remotely, we can trust our workforce to do the work that they need to do. And it really has revolutionized how we're doing business, I think. But I think there's still some trepidation. Just it's not just multifamily specific. A lot of companies don't want to be the first one to put their neck out there and to try something new. But I think that, in the short time that it's been here, AI has proven that it enhances performance, it creates
Mm-hmm.
efficiencies where humans just were lacking. I think, one of the biggest holdbacks is, just how do you do that? Lots of talk around centralization. And I think, companies, if they're looking at AI as a solution, look for the places in your business where you need to improve efficiency. You can do that sometimes just by centralizing functions. Like, when I was at Equity Residential, even back in 2000, I don't know, 9 and 10, they were already
Mm-hmm.
centralizing their accounting functions were centralized. The assistant manager job went away, and the folks that were really good at that role then moved into what they called the CBG, the Central Business Group, and they were, it was consistency in how ledgers were being messed with, and if adjustments needed to be made, there was a central group of people who adhered to policy and didn't have any relationships that tainted their view of how something should be placed or charged or not charged. So it really created consistency, efficiencies,
Mm-hmm.
and enhanced customer satisfaction, because there were less issues when people got their statement of deposit accounting and they had moved out. There was less questions to be asked because everything was really managed more centralized and handled more consistently. And AI has the opportunity to do that as well. And the thing about it is, I think people have this Terminator vision in their minds of what
Yeah.
AI could potentially become. And I mean, hey, if anything unchecked has the potential to become a monster, a child who's unattended. If you don't put some guidelines in place and grow that child up the way they should be, they're going to misbehave and become a terror to society. Same thing. You can't just set it and forget it. You've got to be I have a technology keynote that I do, and the key is you don't set it and forget it. You have to leverage your opportunity to be human, and the human element will always be a requirement. And sometimes when I do that keynote, Jonathan, you'll get a kick out of this. I dress as Data from Star Trek. I do
That's
the
awesome.
makeup.
Yes, I remember seeing those pictures.
And the reason I do that is because
Awesome.
if you're a Trekkie, you know that Data is the most advanced form of artificial intelligence in the universe. He's that advanced, and the only thing he wants is to be human. And so I kind of use that as a gotcha moment to say, no matter what you use, no matter whether you're using Google Translate to talk to someone who doesn't speak your language, or if you're using a chat bot to answer initial questions that a resident has or a prospect has about their apartment search, eventually a human has to take that ball and run with it, because AI doesn't know everything it needs to know. It doesn't know all the nuances about human communication and connection. And, especially when it comes to making a decision around the home, I think there will always be a need for that human touch to get the customer to finally say yes to the address.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Love your perspective. And you and I have both heard people, and I think you sort of alluded to it too a moment ago, where some are find it difficult to adopt because they think, well, I might lose my job. I might, this might take my job away if I learn how to do that. But when you look at the history of technology, really the skill sets that we've needed to get educated on, become proficient at, those are the things that have actually kept our jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So if we didn't learn, we'll date ourselves here. We didn't know what the original word processor was for, what WordPerfect was for. We went from the typewriter to a computer-generated word processor.
Yep.
Well, that didn't take away the ability to write. You still needed to write, but you needed to learn the technology in order to do the particular job. And it's just history repeating itself. With now we're talking about a different type of technology. So the answer to, is it going to take away my job? That's not really a fair question to me, because you can't speak for every single organization and what their plan is. But as you have so eloquently helped us with, the more you know about it, the more you're educated about it, it's going to solidify what you're going to be able to do as companies change and they make adjustments to their overall infrastructure. So,
Yep. Yep. And to understand that when you do implement a tool like AI and it removes a task or a part of your job or workflow, well, then what are you going to be able to do with that time now that you got back? Because now, chatbot is managing the resident or the prospect relationship up to a certain point. So now I have time to, be more focused on, resident engagement and outreach. And, when I get ready to have a resident function, instead of me just checking the box and being compliant, I have the time to really craft an experience for my residents that's going to bring value to them, make them feel like a valued part of the community, create some relationships with their neighbors, and hopefully create that stickiness that makes them want to stay and say yes for another term.
sure,
So it's all about
absolutely.
how you look at, the tools are great. They're meant to save time and make us more efficient. And by making us more efficient, it should give us the time to focus on the things that really matter that only we can do, right?
Yeah.
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 It's history repeating itself to me too,
Yeah,
because
it is.
we were talking about the same thing when it came to social media and the benefits that would come from it. So we just happen to be part of that overlapping generation now where we get to witness artificial intelligence in action
Yep.
and what it's going to do for our industry. So you know how I feel. I know how you feel. Like it's really important for our industry to understand that this isn't just a, oh, like, if
Not
I
a
get
bad.
time, I'll take a look at this kind of approach. You gotta, you really need to take this information in and get your mindset ready to learn what it is and how it's going to affect you on your for your personal career
Yep.
and as a leader. What are you going to do with it to help others within your organization
Yep.
to adopt?
They just finished
So,
OpTech. The OpTech conference just happened. And
okay.
there's a ton of AI options in that marketplace
Hmm.
now. And I really encourage those operators that are listening to identify within your organization what your pain points are. For me as a supplier, as a supplier partner, I'm going to only bring you my solution if I think that it's going to impact positively those pain points that you have. And so if you can look at your organizational structure and identify the areas where maybe you have the most opportunity for improvement, or maybe you don't have real strong key players in those specific roles. Maybe it's accounting, maybe it's IT and technology, maybe it's who knows what part of your infrastructure, or even your team function is where there's a bit of a lack. And then find out who out there in the AI universe offers a solution. And bet you money there's AI solutions on the maintenance side of the house. There's AI solutions on the leasing side of the house. There's AI solutions when it comes to accounting and all of that, resident ledger part of the equation. And just about anything you can think of, there is a tool out there that can become a valuable partner, as long as you're able to call out what your pain points are, and then have somebody step up that says, "Hey, we've got a solution that takes care of that pain point."
Yeah, that's a good segue into another point I wanted to ask you about, Steve, because there's so much out there.
Hmm.
I mean, every time you open your computer, it's like you got Gemini for Google, you got Microsoft Copilot,
Yeah,
you've got all of these different graphics. Just like even just on a personal level. Never mind how it affects on a corporate level. But there's
yeah.
just so many things out there. ChatGPT is a big thing.
Meta
So
AI on Facebook Messenger even has an AI functionality.
right, right. So I don't want our audience to be overwhelmed. Like I remember seeing the look on the face when I was speaking and talking about making Facebook pages and community engagement and how you can leverage resident. They're just like,
Yep.
what? Like, what are you talking about? So, we, I know for a fact that we have a very similar audience out there because it's very daunting. I know I felt that way. I'm like, holy
Yeah.
cow! Like, where do you begin? So, what would be your advice to someone who's like, I know there's a lot out there. What should I start with? Is there certain types of AI I should look at? How would I give myself some, to help my career?
Mhm.
What would you recommend would be a good starting point for education?
Well, I use AI on a, almost, well, for sure, a weekly basis. Sometimes, depending on the week, it's a daily basis. I'm, crafting articles that support the podcast that I host. And
Okay.
every episode I have, I'm required to do two articles, one that's related to the podcast topic, and then one that's multifamily specific. Could be any topic. And there are days and weeks, and Jonathan, I know you felt this before, where you just are not in a creative space, and it's
Yeah.
like beating your head against a creative wall to even come up with an idea. And Chat GPT has been very helpful for me in crafting these blogs and supplemental articles that are part of what we offer as resources to our clients and to those folks that are listening to our podcast. But you have to be you really have to feed it the right stuff to start with. So they call it prompts. You have to prompt ChatGPT with what you want. So, write an article, 3,500 words or less, that deals with the topic of preventative maintenance. Be sure to cite companies like Smart Rent, maybe Sweet Spot. I'll maybe give it a couple of websites that are for vendors on that side of the equation that provide solutions that are AI oriented or smart technology and oriented maintenance opportunities. And I'll feed it as much up front as I can. Sometimes I've even fed it enough where I could have probably just given what I fed it and made that my article, but then I'll generate this, great response, and I'll read through it. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. And you always have to check your facts. So if there's any statistics that are spouted out there, you have to go in and, do your fact proving and make sure that everything is accurate. And I'll usually do 2 or 3 iterations before I get to where I feel like I've got enough to piece from. And then I actually go in and I pull paragraphs from each of those different iterations, because some part of this first draft was great, and then I really liked what it said to conclude at the end of this 4th draft. And so I'm piecemealing all this together. So see, again, it's a good demonstration of I'm using this tool to help me create this resource, but I still am responsible for what I end up in my final draft, and I'm involved in the process. So, I was trepidatious at first. I'd never really used ChatGPT. I didn't really know how it worked. We had a couple of folks on our team here at SalesMail that were in the marketing space and, in college. We've got a couple college folks or people who just graduated from college who are using ChatGPT and other forms of AI as a regular part of their studies. And learning from them and being open-minded to trying some things. I'm 56, so I am an old fart when it comes to how things should be written. And I have found it to be an amazing tool, but it's just a tool. It's one of many that I have in my toolbox. Does that kind of answer that question a little bit?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So you demonstrate that instead of being like, I don't know what this is, there's an easy entrance. It's not difficult, because ChatGPT has a free version where you can just start
That's what
kind of
I'm using.
messing around on a personal level. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
Good.
just,
Good.
I just encourage people, we fear what we don't know. So start to look at it, start to, do research about, Chat GPT and the other tools that you've heard of. Start doing your research, visit their websites, take a look at what they've said. I even encourage you, if you're really serious about a solution, but you're not sure, call a rep and say, tell me who's using you that I can call and get a reference. That's an old fashioned human way of getting from the horse's mouth. Hey, we've been using this tool for a year now and it's really serving us well, and here's how we're leveraging it. And I would encourage you to give it a try. And, a lot of vendors in that technology, SaaS, software as a service environment will let you, pilot it. Give it a try for 30 days. We even at SalesMail will do a 30-day pilot with folks that are interested but not quite sure, because we know the tool, once they start using it and once their teams start using it, it's going to revolutionize their closing ratios. It's going to revolutionize their occupancy numbers. And so give it a try. And a lot of supplier partners have that offer as well. So don't be afraid to ask for that test drive. You don't buy a car without doing your due diligence. And even though we've made that even easy to do through technology, Carvana and all the different apps that are out there to buy cars online, you still have to go drive it make sure it's got the right feel and that it's going to look good in your driveway before you're going to sign on the line and bring it home for good. So why not do that with your tech solutions?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, fantastic tips. Fantastic tips for sure. And
Yeah.
and I and I think throughout what you've shared with us today, Steve, there's a common thread, which is how is it going to improve what we do?
Yep.
Not take away, not take away,
Yep.
improve,
Yep.
improve. Um, we're bombarded by so much. The expectations have just continued to grow sometimes with a job position, and to have a tool that helps with time management and clarity and final product, all of those things, we appreciate you. We
Yeah.
appreciate you highlighting. Let's walk across this bridge together. Let's walk this path.
Yep.
Uh, and I'm with you, man, because it's like I was a little bit on the fence and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, man, am I turning am I turning into one of those old guys who's like,
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking
Get,
about.
get
I don't
off of
like
my
I
lawn.
don't like yeah, exactly. I was making websites when you were barely here, out of your diaper, all that kind of stuff. No.
We had to push our printer
So
uphill in the snow.
oh my goodness. Yeah. So that's so funny. It is so funny. But yeah, that's I had to get myself like, no, you
Yeah.
don't be that way. Just stop, review, take the time, do the research, and see what the potential outcome is. And when I started seeing statistics that highlighted, 30% in time being brought back. So you're talking about resources, so whether it's money, time, overall productivity, and you start talking numbers like that when you're in the 30% range where it can help save you on any one of those any of those components, that's something to pay attention to. So
100%. 100%. And and looking
yeah.
on, I've tried to really emphasize looking on both sides of the house. It's not just about leasing and that resident part of the equation. There's just as much out there for the maintenance team for predictive maintenance and smart
Mm-hmm.
apartments and the technology. Oh gosh, maybe it's going to be a slight bit of a pain to install it at first, but when you look back in a year or two and see all the time that it's saved and the leaks that it's identified before they became a problem and the issues that it's identified before they were able to become a problem, that will be a huge boon to your morale, your bottom line, and your overall company success for sure.
There you go. There you go.
I mean, we even
So
use it in sales mail to help our clients get more sales mails quicker. You can film a quick sales mail message to one person, and then you can move right on to the next one. And while you're doing that, our AI is creating intro text for the last video that you did that says, "Hey, Jonathan, here's a quick video message from Steve. Please click below to watch it." I don't even have to come up with that. So, it's saving our customers one or two clicks. And over the course of a
yeah,
year, one or two clicks every video, that's going to add up to a good amount of time saved. So it's
sure.
not that we don't think you can do it. It's just another way that we're trying to save you the time of doing it yourself. You can toggle it off if you want to, too. That's the great thing about about any kind of artificial intelligence is you can use it when you need it, and if you don't need it, you can toggle it off and continue to do things the way that you do. But I bet if you give it
Mm-hmm.
a try, you will be pleasantly surprised at the results that you'll see.
There you go.
Yeah.
No better way to end this episode, man. This is Thank you so much for coming back on the show. Like,
Oh,
I,
my pleasure, my friend. My
I,
pleasure.
yeah, yeah. I think we really hit the nail on the head for our audience, which is, we're not going to go too deep here. We're just talking about just take a look under the hood, take a peek under
Yeah.
the hood. You're going to like what you see.
Yeah. And I know you said we're about ready to wrap, but I'm thinking about the apartment that I live in here. They just
Mhm.
introduced us all to Piper, and Piper is the bot that will be handling maintenance requests, basic questions and communication that we as residents need answers to. Piper's available 24/7, so I don't have to only respond to something when the team is in the office. I can do it when it's convenient for me. And the team here is being taught that Piper only goes so deep with its knowledge of property management process, even nuance of
Mhm.
conversation. And there will always be an opportunity for the handoff from Piper to the actual team in the office, because Piper won't know all the answers, and Piper won't be able to negotiate the final rate on a renewal because the nuances just aren't there yet. But all that time that's saved because now the team in the office isn't spending time answering those basic questions. They can, focus on making it a great, clean, operationally efficient, beautiful community for us to live in. And the residents are getting answered when it's convenient for them. And Piper meets them at 10 o'clock at night. If they need to ask a question, they can get a response when they need it. But I just think it's a great marriage, as long as you know where the lines get drawn and where that human interaction will always need to come into the equation.
Right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Steve. Man, it's good to have
We
you back. Good to see you.
can talk and talk,
How can
couldn't we?
people connect with you?
Well, I am on LinkedIn. That's probably, I jokingly call LinkedIn my CRM. So just look for Steve Wunch on LinkedIn. It's Wunch like lunch with a W. Um, and that's probably the best place to connect with me. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has, or be a resource to folks if they're interested. I've had a lot of exposure to lots of different technologies over the last few years. So don't hesitate to leverage me as a resource if you need to.
Awesome. And remind our audience your company's website, if you don't mind.
It's Yeah, real easy. Thank you, Jonathan. It's salesmail.com. And
Okay.
actually, yeah, that's the best way to learn about us. We do have a multifamily landing page that's multifamily specific, but the best way to go is just to go salesmail.com, and you'll be able to get a nice, good look at what we do.
Perfect. Perfect. We'll
Yep.
make sure that all that's included in our show notes. But we look
Thank you.
forward to having you back again, man. So thank you for helping our audience with a nice overview, how we can get into AI and get comfortable with it. Appreciate having you on the show. Thank you to our community. You are awesome. We appreciate your feedback and support. Until next time, take care, everyone.